So today I'm going to show you how you can improve the quality of your practice sessions with the Garmin Approach R10. One of the biggest problems that I see as a golf coach, and I've done this in the past, is going to the practice range and practicing without intent. Going to the practice range without purpose won't allow you to perform better when you go out onto the golf course. Just grabbing a bucket of golf balls, hitting one ball after the next, not really knowing what you're working on and how to improve will really destroy your golf game. So I'm going to show you my 3-part training system which will allow you to not waste a single minute next time you go to the practice range using the Garmin Approach R10, starting with phase number 1. So the very first phase of the training system is going to be called block practice. You've noticed that I've laid out a certain amount of balls here right in front of me, 10 to be exact. Every single part of the training system is going to consist of hitting 10 golf balls. Now, just before that, I'm going to go inside of the Garmin Golf app. When I click on the Garmin Golf app here, I'm going to select Golf Sim, which is the second option going from the bottom left, and then I'm going to select driving range. From there, start training. I'm going to go to distance range, start session, and I'm good to go. Block practice is all about improving your golf swing mechanics. We're looking at specific data inside of the Garmin Golf app connected with the Garmin Approach R10. I'm working on today on club face. Club face dictates where the ball is going to start. So if my club face is pointing to the left, that ball is starting left. If the club face is square, starting on line. If the club face is pointing to the right, then that ball is going to start right. So when I select on top here, there's 3 different data points. I'm clicking on one of them and then I can just select whichever one I want. So whatever you're working on in your golf swing, you can really go into detail into what you're looking for. If you, for example, you're working on your ball flight, you might be selecting club path. For me, I'm going to select club face, and I'm really going to study that specifically because I know that I have a tendency when I hit too much dispersion or have too much dispersion, I will have a club face that's too much to the left. I have a club face that will be sometimes 4 or 5 degrees to the left. So I'm looking at that, and then I'm also looking at total deviation. That will tell me how far left or right I'm missing the target. Okay, so let's start hitting some golf balls. I love placing the phone on the golf bag with the phone holder that comes with the Garmin Approach R10. Make sure every time that you set up perfectly with the Approach R10 right in line with the target line. I like to use the alignment stick that's on the ground there. And let's just hit a golf ball and see what happens. Yeah, so that ball went way left. Let's see, yeah, exactly right. So if you just kind of zoom in here, you'll see that the club face says 5.2 degrees to the left. So that's exactly my tendency when I hit my ball with too much deviation. Here you can see I have 11 yards of deviation left of the target, meaning that I just missed the green on regulation there, probably finished in a bunker or in the water hazard. So definitely don't like that. So the main data that I'm looking at is improving that specific number, 5.2 degrees. I'm going to try and work in this first phase of my training session, really try and get that number somewhere around 0. If I can get it anywhere between 0 degrees to 2 degrees to the left, I know that that will greatly improve my chances of hitting a green in regulation with the iron that I have. So here I'm working on feels. I'm trying to get my hands working a little bit more forward because I know that I have a tendency to scoop the ball a bit when I hit it left. So I'm really trying to feel that I'm getting my hands working more towards my left leg or my lead leg as I'm coming through the ball. All right, now let's see how that feels. So that ball was a lot more compressed, as you can see from the divot. And you can actually see now that the club face has changed completely. Check it out, 0.7 degrees to the right. My club face there was perfect. It was perfectly square, and that ball finished 1 yard to the right of the target line. So that's really interesting, just going from one ball to the next, having immediate feedback with the Garmin Approach R10 connected with the Garmin Golf app. I know within one golf ball what's going on at impact and how I can then improve my golf game and my golf swing. Okay, so I've just hit 6 golf balls with my 9-iron. Remember, I would advise you to hit 10 golf balls next time you go and practice in this first phase of the training plan, block practice. Looking at the numbers here, really interesting. 130 yards average carry. Now that also allows me to understand my numbers when I go out there on the golf course, not just guessing game, but actually knowing what my average distance is, not my best hit, because you see that my maximum distance was 138. Now that's my maximum. That doesn't necessarily mean that I'm going to be doing that every time I go on the golf course. So I take my average into consideration. Now, when I go scroll down through the different golf balls that I hit, I can see now by just clicking on one of them, I can see my club face angle, which is again what I'm working on specifically in this first phase of the training plan. 1.97 degrees to the left. I'm trying to get this club face as close as possible to zero, trying to understand the feels as I'm looking at those numbers, so then I can translate those numbers and those feels into the second part of the training plan. So the second part of my training system is called variable practice. This is where we take the feels and the data of the very first part of the training system and then bring it into variable practice, where we're changing clubs, we're changing targets, and we're using another part of the Garmin Golf app, which I absolutely love. I'm gonna go back to driving range, but this time I'm gonna select Green Valley, right? So you actually have 4 different type of practice ranges inside of the Garmin Golf app. This is one of the reasons why I love it. Second part of the training system, I am selecting this type of practice range because look, if I just zoom out here, you can see that I have different targets. I have 54 yards, 81 yards, 114, 169, 170. I have lots of different targets. This is really important because I'm starting to simulate course-like situations at the practice range. This is where it gets exciting. Now I'm going to change clubs every time. So I'm still hitting my 10 golf balls, but every single golf ball, I'm changing targets, and I'm also continuing to look at the data of that club face. Is it still around zero? Am I missing the target? How far left or right am I missing the target? Starting to simulate course situations. Let's see what it looks like. So for the very first shot, I'm actually going to select the green at 114 yards. That's a small pitching wedge for me. Again, translating those feels from the very first part of the training session, focusing on getting those hands, working more forward in the stance, more towards my lead leg. Now that ball went straight, but just not enough distance. 102, hit that little bit fat, but the club face was perfect, 0.5 degrees to the left. That's exactly what I'm looking for in terms of club face. Just came up short on that one. So still going to carry on working on those variables. Now what I'm doing is I'm changing the target. Even though I missed my target, it doesn't matter. I'm just going to go zoom out, overview. Now I'm going to go to 169. So 169 is going to be a 7-iron for me. So I'm just going to switch that to a 7-iron and change clubs. Remember, the whole point of this variable practice is changing targets and changing clubs every single time, trying to bring in those feels. You're simulating course-like situations, so it's really important to not hit the same club one ball after another. All right, so I pretty much flushed that one. That one went 3 yards to the right of the target. That's on the green, not far from the flag. Thank you very much, Garmin Golf, for giving me that good feedback. Club face was 1.8 degrees to the left of my target line. Perfect, that's exactly what I'm looking for. So basically, I'm gonna continue doing that for about 10 balls, changing clubs again every time, changing targets every single time, using the Garmin Golf app connected with the Garmin Approach R10, making sure that that second part of the training session, the variable practice, is really helping me then transfer into the third part of the training plan. So the third part of the training system is called performance practice. This is where we're trying to bring pressure-like situations that we often live on the golf course and bringing them out here onto the practice range. The more we can practice pressure situations out here on the range, the easier it gets out there when you're actually playing in real course situations. Now for this, I'm going back into the Garmin Golf app. I'm clicking on Golf Sim Driving Range, Start Training, and I'm going to the last practice session available, practice range called Palm Island. I absolutely love this practice range because it's extremely difficult. And the more we make our practice sessions difficult, the easier it gets on the golf course. As you can see here, when you have an overview of this practice range, you can see that all the greens are surrounded by water. And the last thing we want to do on the golf course is hit it into the water hazard, right? So I'm going to select 146 yards here. You can see that I have different distances. What I would advise for this specific game, practice game that we're doing under the performance section of the practice plan, is we are selecting 10 golf balls, or hitting 10 golf balls, and we're hitting one ball after the next with one golf club only, choosing one specific target. 146 yards here is what I'm choosing. And out of those 10 golf balls, I want to know how many of those golf balls finished on the green and how many of those golf balls finished in the water. That's going to give me a baseline, a starting point, so that next time I come out here and practice with the Garmin Approach R10, I then have the availability or possibility of beating the practice session that I did the week before. That's what it's all about, being able to just beat the golfer that you were the week before. If you do that consistently week in and week out, you're obviously going to improve your golf game. All right, let's start hitting some golf balls. I was pretty happy with that, let me tell you. 145 yards, yes, carry distance. That's exactly the distance I was aiming for. When I zoom in here, that ball finished 7 yards left of the target. So I'm putting for birdie. It's always a good day when you're putting for birdie. What's interesting is that when you dig deep into those 3 golf balls, you can see that all 3 were different in terms of distance, which proves one point, that golf isn't a game of perfect. But this is where the performance game is really important, because you're not trying to strike every ball perfect. You're trying to get the ball onto the putting surface, the most important thing about this performance practice game that I'm playing. So remember the 3-part training system. We have block practice, variable practice, and performance practice. Each one of those segments has its own purpose, its own goal, associated with the Garmin Approach R10, which will give you immediate and precise feedback, meaning that next time you go to the practice range, you're practicing with intent. You're favoring quality practice over quantity practice, and that will allow you to become a much better player next time you go out on the golf course.